This webinar is being streamed live from Dr. Gary Samuelson's Facebook page, which is Gary Samuelson. Please feel free to add any comments of appreciation as we stream this webinar. However, we want to respect Dr. Samuelson's time. There's going to be a lot of people watching this and a lot of people wanting to make comments, but if there's a lot of questions, you have to appreciate Dr. Samuelson's time. He's answering a lot of questions around the world. So maybe let's refrain from the questions, speak to our upline. If we have any questions, speak to the person who introduced you here today, and they are experts too. They'll definitely be able to get your questions answered. For more information, if you have any questions, you can go in the chat box and we'll do our best in the background. Or if you're on Facebook Live, we're on Facebook Live today as well, we'll do our best in the background to help you out in that regard. Please understand that ASEA none of the ASEA products are intended to treat or cure any medical condition. We're not making any medical claims today. So I think that's all the housekeeping. Let's introduce our very special host today. We're very grateful that this lady puts these calls together and gets such great and special people on the line that she has with us today. Her name is Maria Hopwood. She is a beautiful, beautiful businesswoman living and working in a beautiful Blue Mountains community on the outskirts of Sydney, Australia. She has worked for many years in the administration, marketing and management of small businesses, in particular service industries, health-related businesses, and not-for-profit organizations. Now, Maria stumbled upon the amazing life-changing technologies you're going to hear about today, ASEA Redox signaling supplementation and Renew 28, just over 3 years ago now, due to a personal health concern that she was challenged with. Maria knew that she had not only inadvertently landed on a concept and products that aligned with her own ethos and inherent belief system, but also recognized them as an incredible gift to humanity, thanks to a gentleman that you're going to hear from today. The gift and the opportunity that she felt that she had to share with the world. She didn't need to tell the world about it, but since everyone needed to know about it, she felt compelled to do that. So we thank you for that, Maria. ASEA has also enabled her to start her own business and take her own life into an entirely new direction, take control back upon her life and her circumstances. Because of that, she has been growing exponentially around the globe with this organization. So Maria, we're very grateful for you. Thank you so much. We're going to hand over the time for you, and we're really excited to hear from everyone today.
Thank you, Stevie. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for your time. And the topic for today, it's the fundamentals of redox biotechnology and how it affects you. So first of all, let's actually welcome the wonderful man that is right here, Dr. Gary Samuelson, who's actually responsible for us being on this amazing journey. So Dr. Gary Samuelson earned his PhD and doctorate in physics from the University of Utah with a specialty in atomic physics and in cross-disciplinary program between the physics department and the medical school. During the last several years, he's contributed to the development of a safe and stable redox signal technology and the very successful commercialization. It's a big word this morning. Commercialization efforts of this technology. Dr. Samuelson is the one and only scientist that was able to do what the science world believed impossible, to stabilize these fabulous molecules outside our body. This in itself is a remarkable accomplishment, considering that these amazing molecules take millions of a second to be created and used by our bodies, and it takes the same amount of time to turn back to saline solution within the body when it's not needed. Thanks to Dr. Samuelson and ASEA humanity, of which we are all part of, we now have trillions and trillions of these wonderful cells that stabilize in a bottle and in a gel form to protect, repair, and replace our cells. As Dr. Samuelson eloquently said in a previous seminar last year, ASEA assists in the expressing the gene that helps the communication inside our cells. Dr. Samuelson hopes to see that one day when all of our greatest scientific achievements of this century will be available to humanity, and that will be a great day. But right now, this is a fabulous day. Welcome to the webinar, Dr. Samuelson.
It's such a great privilege. Thank you.
Oh, it's our privilege, Dr. Samuelson, rest assured. Thank you. And of course, now we have beautiful Aris Samuelson, the power behind the man. Aris, I've met Aris Actually, I've never met Alex face to face, and I am really looking forward to giving a big hug in Dallas. I met Aris in last year, 2016 October, over the internet, and it's been a wonderful journey. So thank you so much for the opportunity to both of you, really. So Aris, after graduating from senior high school, Aris went to the University of Utah, where she met Gary Samuelson, and together they began their amazing life journey. Aris decided to follow her husband, Gary, and pursue their interest in health and helping people. Aris became a health student as she researched for answers for her own health issues. Aris and Gary had a sense that this was to be their life purpose. Aris loves yoga and its health benefits, as well as going to the gym regularly. Go girl. Very early in her pursuit of health, Aris understood the importance of looking after her own body and health. Aris is the proud mother of 5 children and 3 grandchildren. All of her children have served mission in the church and active members of the church community. Along with her passion for health and well-being, Aris loves to travel, particularly with her husband now, Dr. Gary Samuelson. She enjoys meeting and empowering people to be more. Aris has an appetite for learning new aspects of health and technologies that enhance and empower the human potential. She wants to be an example to you and me and so many others. Hence, she strives to live a healthy, joyful lifestyle and is passionate about encouraging others to do the same. Aris was at the forefront when Dr. Samuelson made history with his discovery of stabilizing redox signaling molecules outside the body for our consumption. Aris has witnessed firsthand the growth of ASEA as an international company, complete with ethos and mission and vision, to empower the many to believe, belong, and become. With her leadership, dedication, and passion, and a true clear understanding of the intricacy of network marketing as a business model, Aris has successfully built an ASEA Diamond executive business internationally across many countries. Aris has single-handedly changed many, many lives around the world. Aris, you're a true inspiration. Thank you for your time and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Maria. Wow, those were really kind words of yours. Thank you.
They're all true. They're all true. So we are now also very blessed to have Bart and Melissa Kotter, Triple Diamond Executive from ASEA. Bart has been successful in sales and marketing from an early age. For the last 24 years, he's been a leader in the network marketing profession and has built teams of over 30,000 people across 41 countries. And I'm sure this is growing, Bart, which is wonderful. But the time that Melissa was 21, she graduated with a science degree in earth sciences that led her to work with big pharmaceuticals. After an integrity crisis, she made the decision to commit her life to wellness and educating people about taking a proactive approach to their health and finances. This took her into being a co-founder of 3 chiropractic clinics. Melissa undertook an MBA and graduated at the top of her class with honors on top of all that. This led her into further developing her entrepreneurial spirit within the network marketing profession, where she has spent 17 years alongside her husband, Bart. So there you have it. We are very fortunate at this moment to have these wonderful people. Also, as a big thank you, and I'd like to make a note, as Stevie and Sarah Aquilina are behind all this, so they help me, somebody who's not so technically savvy, to make sure that these webinars go out without a hitch for all of your benefit. Now, Dr. Samuelson, you're welcome. Dr. Samuelson, as an introduction to this topic, can you give us a very brief synopsis as to how you came to be involved in the redox signaling molecules biotechnology?
It was sort of by accident, Maria. It was not my intention to be studying redox signaling molecules at the very beginning. In fact, I didn't even know what redox signaling per se was or what it did inside the body. But I was studying nanotechnology, and some of the emerging scientific developments in that field are incredible. We're able to activate, for example, little nanoparticles that can destroy viruses, and we found nanoparticles that were able to kill the malaria parasite. And I thought that through that knowledge, we would be able to change some of the conditions in the world by making these type of technologies available. About that time, I met Vertus Norton. He was actually a neighbor of mine, and my wife introduced us through his daughter, Nancy. And we set up a meeting with him at a restaurant. My dad and I went. He has a Ph.D. in physics also. And so we went. I really enjoyed having him along. So I invited him to come, and I wanted to tell Vertus how important these emerging technologies, nanotechnologies, were. But when we met, he pushed a bottle of salt water across the table at me. And he said, you know, this has done amazing things for people. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's salt water. And I said, well, I really do not have any interest in salt water, or even, and he said, well, maybe there's a nanoparticle in there. So I poured it in a cup and looked at it and with a laser, and I said, no, Vertus, there is no nanoparticle in this water. And but he was so insistent that we look at it. He said that there's some 16 years of studies and many millions of dollars worth of studies, and he hooked me. And he said, well, would you help us figure out what it is? And so that's how I first started to get involved with the redox signaling. Many months of study up at the University of Utah. And I'll review that a little bit. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'll review and go through a little bit later on in the call.
That's really good. I'm so glad that Vertus Norton was really insistent, because look where we are now. It's just fabulous. And of course, your exposure to redox biotechnology has propelled you to write your first book, The Science of Human Reveal. But wait, there's more. And now we are really excited because you have announced that your book, A Journey of Discovery into Redox Signaling, is set to be released next week. And it will be available on the Amazon Kindle, Apple, and most of the EPUB readers. I mean, this is really exciting. We are just so excited for you, Dr. Samuelson. Of course, we are all cannot wait to get our hands on that book. I actually went into your blog because you said that was an excerpt there of your book, and I read it. And the last few paragraphs really touched my heart. So if that's okay, do you mind if I read it?
Sure.
For the first time in history, this is Dr. Samuelson, we have found something that has practically no adverse effects for all types of cells and tissues, and yet can directly affect some of the most fundamental redox pathways that have existed in all forms of life since the beginning of oxidative processes. We have found a remarkable path into the unknown regions of life. There is certainly a sense of adventure in not quite knowing what lies around the corner. And as we continue to explore this expansive wilderness that for now seems to have no end, that is so exciting. And I hope everybody that's listening is going to go back to that blog, because there's so much more. It's just really exciting. Melissa, wouldn't you think so? And I'm sure that you've got lots and lots of questions for Dr. Samuelson, of course, to Iris. So the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having us on the webinar today. And Iris and Dr. Samuelson, it's a real pleasure to be, and an honour to be featuring with you today. So I do have a question, and the first one that popped into mind, it's for you, Dr. Samuelson. When I first heard about an atomic medical physicist, I know there's not many of you in the world, I actually wasn't really sure what that meant and what you did. So for the sake of new people on today's webinar, do you mind shedding some light on that subject for us?
Yes, ever since I was young, I wondered what matter was made out of, and I learned that it was made out of atoms. And I learned that atoms could fit together in different forms to form molecules, and that all life was made out of these molecules. Well, in order to be able to study the advent of life and what it really was about on the atomic scale, I got interested in what they call atomic physics, which is the rules of atoms. And it involves quantum theory and field theories and such that allow us to understand how atoms fit together to make molecules and how they interact. and to form structures. That's how I got interested in nanotechnology, because these little structures are actually composed of just hundreds of different types of atoms and can do so many remarkable things. And so an atomic physicist really just studies the properties and laws that govern atoms. And then the medical part of it is because we had this cross-disciplinary program with the University of Utah, where we were able to apply the knowledge that we had in medical situations, into medical technologies.
It sounds so fascinating to both of us, particularly with the quantum physics background as well. And no doubt with the bespoke program that has occurred through the University of Utah, I would imagine that your field, your profession is going to be growing in the future in a really big way, just because of the way in which medical science is changing and the direction that we're all going along those lines. So thank you for sharing that with us, because the word atomic, when I first read about it a few years ago, I had a different thought in my mind. So, so thanks for shedding light on that. And I know Bart had a quick question.
Yes.
Well.
So, you know, we often quote you as a statement that you've made, that this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health that we've ever seen. And I was wondering if you could just take a minute and elaborate on that just a little bit.
Well, this would be a perfect time, I guess, to introduce the PowerPoint presentation that I have. It's a small 10-minute thing, and it goes through the fundamentals of redox signaling.
No, we'd love to see it. Sounds fascinating.
Okay. Okay, great. I will share my screen then.
Okay.
And hope that you can all see this. All right, can everyone see the screen there?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, very good. Well, I mentioned that at the very beginning, as an atomic physicist, I was interested in, of course, understanding what atoms are all about. And when Bertus gave me this bottle, you know, and he said, it's made out of salt and water. And you have to realize I'm an atomic physicist. I've just spent, you know, 20 years of my life in major debt in order to learn about atomic physics. And I'm trying to, you know, study salt water was not on the table at this point. So he said, well, is it salt water? And I took the lid and I unscrewed it and I smelled it and I said, no, it's not salt water. So, you know, that was done. In fact, this is good for people who have an objection. You know, on the internet, I've seen some things that say, oh, ASEA is just expensive salt water. ASEA is not salt water. You can smell it. The first taste of it, you know it's not salt water. And so the question is, well, what is it? You know, how is it modified? And how do you modify this salt water to do anything that might be biologically interesting, you know, in the sciences? And so the key to understanding the inner workings of the cell is that all biochemistry takes place in this saltwater bath. All the interactions of the molecular machines, all of the activity that takes place inside the cells is surrounded by salt and water. And then these redox signaling, as I started to understand what some of these components inside this modified saltwater did, are actually the components that the cell produces itself from salt water. And these things, these components then, these molecular components, form a network of communication that helps coordinate and orchestrate all of the activity that's taking place inside the cell. Now, what could be more fundamental than understanding the medium of communication between molecules in a cell? So now I was very interested. You know, this is the interesting stuff. And it all comes down to a very special molecule, and that's the oxygen molecule. If you look at the quantum states of an oxygen molecule, this is what it is, and this is what it might look like. Nothing in an atom is solid. They're all fuzzy stuff, little fuzzy balls. And if you put together two oxygen atoms, excuse me, you get an oxygen molecule that has an unpaired electron called a free radical. So oxygen is a free radical. We can't say that all free radicals are bad for us. You know, oxygen is pretty important, even though it oxidizes things. So we start to understand that all of life, since the very inception of life, has to do with how oxygen reacts. You know, we have a lot of water here on Earth. If we put, if we take an electron away from water, we get types of radicals, and then we get hydrogen peroxide. If we take another one away, and we get superoxides if we take another one away, and if we take one more away, you get oxygen. So by adding and subtracting electrons from oxygen, you can make different types of components. These are the components inside of ASEA. They're called reactive oxygen species. And I can tell you now that the way that we produce ASEA is by altering the oxidation states of oxygen. And we are able to produce perfectly balanced combinations of these types of molecules inside their saltwater base. So this definitely does not look like salt water. We've processed it and made it into a perfectly balanced mixture of, or a composition of reactive oxygen species. I mean, this is really interesting. If you study life, you realize that plants use water and they turn it into oxygen. And then we use oxygen and we turn it back into water. This is the pathway by which plants turn water into oxygen. And it's also the pathway by which us oxygen-breathing people turn oxygen back into water. And so, you know, it's probably the most fundamental process in nature and has been around since the inception of life, and certainly since oxygen has been in the atmosphere. So oxygen forms water. It's one of the lowest redox states of oxygen. There's 1 trillion billion of these molecules, that's right, in one drop of water. And these water molecules form clusters, and they are very dynamic, and they form different things. So, and in ASEA, when we were now analyzing it, we found that ASEA contains all of these things except for, the hydroxyl radical. We didn't find it in ASEA, which is good because it's not good for us. So anyway, antioxidants and oxidants in our body, we find, form a perfect balance, a homeostasis. Now, all of this is the science, and you have to understand that this is my journey. I started to understand that oxidants and antioxidants form a very important balance inside of our cells, and that this balance actually helps orchestrate the repair and replacement of damaged cells. And we have been able to take the same types of things that exist in cells and are produced by the mitochondria and put them inside of a saltwater compound. And this is what ASEA is. So we have shown that these ROS compounds exist in ASEA and that they're completely biocompatible and bioavailable. We've done clinical trials that show that these things kill microbes, all of the pathogens, in 30 seconds or less in exposure. It's it doesn't have any effect, a negative effect on the beneficial flora or microbiome in the gut. So it's selective. I mean, it's remarkable stuff. There's no inflammatory markers stimulated, and the antioxidant efficiency is increased by more than 5 times when exposed to ASEA. It accelerates the kill rate only of the damaged cells, but helps to defend, repair, and replace the healthy normal cells. And we found that it reverses cell aging in cell cultures. Cells actually get younger and more responsive when you expose them to ASEA. So about at this time in my, this was about a year and a half or 2 years in after I met Virtus, I was excited. And this is where I said, Bart, this is probably the most fundamental technology that we have available to us through medical technologies, because it directly stimulates the pathways to healing damaged tissue. And there's nothing that I could see in biology that could not be benefited by us increasing the efficiencies of healing tissue. I mean, imagine it. It completely blew my mind. I put my nanotechnology on the back burner. I said, this is going to be the new thing in science. So we've seen a lot of things. It increases the keep channels and detoxification channels in the gut. It stimulates antioxidants. Yeah, it's the key to regeneration cycles in the cell. We've seen mice run 29% longer. We've seen energy reserves be less depleted. We've seen increased antioxidant rates. No adverse, in any of the human studies, no adverse effects for any subject, anytime. We've seen the skin, oh, I'm sorry, you wanted to say something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, in fact, this is so bioactive. I remember you saying that you didn't even believe the research that this was something so bioactive that there was no toxicity whatsoever. It's just helping the good cells and destroying the bad cells. You actually even did some of your own studies to validate that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, all of the early studies that were done by a senior researcher at a national laboratory. I sent samples of it to him and I said, please tell me, is this going to hurt somebody? And we got no, it doesn't hurt somebody, but we did get the thing that it activates NRF2, which activate the antioxidants. So we started on that journey early on.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, well, just we've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of examples where tissue regeneration in the skin, anywhere in the body, has helped people through some of their most difficult health problems. We've seen 50,000 cases. I mean, thousands and thousands of cases. Endocrine system, the skin, pulmonary, cardiovascular, digestive system, the nervous system. All of these interact by using these redox signaling molecules. And so this is why I've said, Bart, and then what you quoted, that it's destined to feel the greatest advances in this century. Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Samuelson, you mentioned very briefly when you were looking at the cell cultures on one of those slides that you could tell early on that it had a sensitivity with hormones. And no doubt you were instrumental in helping to organise ASEA's gene study last year. And so we'd really love you to shed some light for everybody on what that study actually means, the 5 genetic pathways that ASEA has been shown to activate, and just let people know, based on your background and your specialisation, what this actually means to us, the end user.
Okay, well, we've already known that it helps to increase the potential of hormone reception. From our cellular studies, we know that cells become more sensitive to hormones when they have ASEA in them. We didn't know why, nor did we have any really good science that we could point at and say, well, we are actually doing something to the genes, to genetic expression inside the cells. It was my idea early on to have what they call a shotgun approach. We try out 20,000 genes and just see which ones are affected. And so they did that. We had the technology to do it, and found that some of the most important signaling genes in the cell are activated when you expose a person to ASEA, or the redox signaling messaging. including the genes, by the way, that help to reduce oxidative stress, that help in hormone production and in hormone reception. The reduction of oxidative stress also helps calm the mind, calms the mental anxieties, helps people sleep. Several things that we would never have even guessed, including, helps in the digestive hormones, digestive enzymes that are inside the gut to become more efficient. So those are the things that we learned through the genetic studies.
Well, I know it's remarkable having a shift of 2% in genetic pathways, let alone the study that came out that showed 21 to 30% shift in genes when it comes to the gene study there. So obviously you were onto something in the early days, and it's just wonderful that now it's been proven, and for our confidence and benefit as associates being able to share that with the world, because there's a lot of science, as you know, around genetic pathways, and it's a really upcoming science in terms of the awareness of society. So thank you very much for being instrumental behind that. And I wanted to allude, thank you so much for your patience, Iris. I know what it's like to be married to successful men, but what people don't realise is behind every successful man there's a successful woman. So thank you so much for being with us today. And I had a quick question for you, because there really is no one really in ASEA, in my opinion, who is better qualified to talk about how to get this technology out to the world, because you've really been there right from the early days, from the inception. You've carried the vision and you've been an incredible pioneer. So for those of us on the line today who are wondering, how have you done it? And congratulations on your success, by the way, because I know you're across many countries with your business. So we'd really love you to share what you're doing and what you're finding successful, and your vision and your passion through taking these molecules to humanity.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad my husband can explain a lot of the stuff that I don't like to even remember. There's so much, it's complex for me. I'm a very simple person, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are very simple. They like to share something that it has, for me, it's like a testimony. It's something that I have to believe it. When my husband first brought this machine at home, something happened to me. And, I have to be able to see it to believe it. So he said, honey, this stuff is going to be helping you. And I was like, what is it? And I remember something that happened when I was cutting, and I cut my finger. And Gary always talks about my finger being cut and how it healed really fast. I was very impressed because it was burning me so much when I was putting water in. And then the healing took over immediately when it stopped hurting,
When you put your finger in.
When I put my finger in. And so that was a big testimony for me. But when my husband was sharing this to people, I was very embarrassed because it's just my finger. I said, please don't talk about my finger. At the same time, I think it was in one of those conventions, a guy came up to me and he says, are you Dr. Samuelson's wife? And I said, yes. And he says, I want to see your finger. And I feel so embarrassed. And I said, I'm sorry. He says, I have to tell you that I'm a surgeon. And I want you to tell you that it has helped many lives because of your finger. And I was crying, and I felt so sad, happy in one way, and sad that I didn't share my finger before. Then I've been sharing the story about what happened to my finger and how healing turned a lot faster when you use Redox signaling. So that was an experience for me. And when I travel, I talk about my finger. I tell people how I use it from the first time. Me and my husband, we don't get sick. And for me, it's a signal that somehow we are taking the right thing, getting, especially here in America, because I'm from Peru, and I always, I'm in a warm weather all the time, and being in this country, we always get sick and colds, and I remember every year I used to get sick like 3 times just with colds. And now, since I've been taking Redox signally, I haven't got sick. And if it is just a little bit, I remember Bertis, I was a little bit, couldn't talk. I had this sore throat that was hurting me so bad. And I was taking ASEA, and he said to me, "Hey, you need to take the whole bottle." And I thought he was joking. I go, "I'm not going to take the whole bottle because, for me, 4 ounces, that's all I need." And he was right. Oh my gosh. And I took the whole bottle. I said, "Gary, I don't think this is going to kill me, huh?" Because I never got so sick. That time I was very sore. I had that sore throat. And so I did is I rub it with Renew 28, and I took half of the bottle in the morning and then the other half at night. The next day, the whole thing was over. And to me, that's another story, another testimony that I share with people. So that's what I do now. I tell people how this new technology, it's about cells. The cells can get healed, the cells can be protective and repair. And so those are the 3 words that my husband taught me, repair, replace, and what was the other one? I forgot.
Protect.
Protect. Okay. So I'm always share those 2 things because a lot of people don't understand what Redox signal is all about. It's just a new word for them. And so if you tell them about your body, it's all about cells. And if you're sick, it's because there's a damaged cell. And so that's how it works for me. And I feel like I'm helping a lot of people. Being the doctor's wife, to me, it's a little bit hard because a lot of people wants me to explain that with details. And I'm not a person that likes to explain things with so many details. I say, try it. Just try it. This is going to help you. And so that's for me. That's how I share my testimony and how I talk to people.
Iris, that's actually really beautiful, and it's such a powerful message too. So often people think that they really need to be able to explain this, but you quite frankly don't need to be an atomic medical physicist. And even where you've been right there side by side with Dr. Samuelson this whole time and seeing the journey right from the beginning, your message is so powerful, and that is just to use the product, share the product, build your belief system, build your own testimony in the product. And the fact is that the research is there, the science is there, we know that it works. We can absolutely, and you guys have seen so many lives changed. Gary, I know so many people have come up to you, Dr. Samuelson, with and just from their heart shared their incredible experience, life-changing experiences, quite frankly. And Iris, how important is it that we get this message out to the world, that we get this technology out to the world?
Yeah,
I know
it is.
It's very important. I mean, and I know that you guys have played a real intricate role in bringing this down into South America, some of the countries, Colombia, and really
your finger story has definitely featured a lot in Australia. He shares a lot.
Absolutely. It's those beginning experiences, and that just is an example of what's happening throughout our whole body. It's so powerful.
So you're literally a match made in heaven, you two. We Iris with your conviction, passion, experience, and Dr. Samuelson with what you bring to the table with credibility and the discovery. It's we want you out here when you're coming to Australia.
I hope so. That's what I wanted to do. So maybe soon. Yes.
Okay.
We know very little Spanish out here, so I'm so glad your English is perfect.
February would be a good time.
Yeah.
My wife deserves everything. She has been by my side and has been my anchor my whole life. she loves to travel with me, and I love to be with her. It's been wonderful during these last little times to actually get to know each other and travel together. That is an experience, by the way, that I value personally more than almost any other experience that I have. And I know that we're being used as instruments to help other people, and that even makes it 10 times better.
Absolutely. I'd like to just acknowledge your courage to really jump into this area of network marketing with us. I know as an atomic medical physicist, that was a big move, and also to just encourage Virtus to not let the pharmaceutical companies get this, but to really make sure that it got out to humanity. And we're so incredibly grateful for everything that you've done.
Words can't even express the gratitude out there for the both of you, and the mission that you're ahead of, and how you absolutely are changing the world. So big responsibilities on your shoulders, but you're carrying it with ease and grace, and look at the results. We're so happy for both of you and excited to be part of your lives and seeing a lot more of you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we wanted to say too that none of this also would be possible. Well, it wouldn't have been possible without my wife, but it wouldn't have been possible either without all of you who start to understand that when you find something that is beneficial for many people, it's almost an obligation or a stewardship to tell other people about that thing, whether you be a scientist or you be a housewife or whatever your role in life might be. Telling people about these things is going to help save lives, just like telling the story about my wife's finger helped save lives when somebody was hemorrhaging, and that was that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again. Those were the questions that we had for you, and just really want to express our gratitude. It's so fun to be able to associate with people like yourselves and the people that are involved with ASEA too. It's just a great group of people. I think we are changing the world. I think that this technology, I heard you say it, one of the first time I met you, that you really mentioned that this technology was really for this meant for these times. And there's different meanings, but I think this has certainly been an answer to a lot of people's prayers. And so we got to have the courage to tell people when we get those kind of gut feelings, to share it. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. We'll hand it back over to you, Maria. Thanks so much, Iris and Dr. Samuelson.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are wonderful.
Look, yes, you're at the top of that tree, Dr. Samuelson and Iris. Absolutely, you are. And I know that we all heard it. And yes, I think February sounds like a really good idea.
I answered your question too.
And it's lovely, you did, I know. And it's lovely and warm, Iris, so there's no cold here. And Queensland is lovely, and I'm sure we can all put you up and look after you like you deserve to be looked after. So we did hear it. I did not go unnoticed. Thanks, Melissa, that was awesome. So look, we're coming towards the end. It's been an amazing webinar yet again. Thank you so much for Melissa and Bart. You guys are amazing for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you guys are really, really busy at this particular time. Your leadership and your wisdom, your heart, it's just so amazing. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts across the world. On behalf of everybody, thank you so much. What you do for Australia and for ASEA, and how to get it going here in Australia and advance it. It's just amazing. So thank you so very much to both of you, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Iris, you are just amazing. What can I say? It's so good to see you.
I'll see you in convention. That will be so nice. I can't wait to come and see you, meet a lot of people. It will be nice to see you and give you a big hug. Thank you for everything you have done. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think the feeling is mutual. You're a true inspiration around the world. We know that you've been supporting Dr. Samuelson forever. So he's so right. So proud of you, because so are we. We thank you for the dedication, your passion, for the work that you're doing and the service you're providing to all of us and to humanity. Thank you so very much. I believe, from my heart, I thank you, Dr. Samuelson. I believe Stevie's got something to say, and I'm just going to hand it over to him for now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Maria, for putting this all together. It's been an amazing gathering here on Zoom and on Facebook. A lot of comments, a lot of loves, and a lot of wows. And thank you so much, Bart and Melissa, for your awesome questions. It was so intriguing and interesting to see the answers. Dr. Samuelson, thank you so much for the life-changing work that you've done. It's you know, any condition that, you know, we knew of or that we could imagine, we've just seen remarkable results. So, you know, thank you for change bettering and giving people their lives back. And Iris, you're beautiful. Thanks for letting Dr. Samuelson do that good work. So look, folks, thank you so much. We can't wait to see you guys in Texas as well. Hey, look, folks, for more information, please go to Dr. Samuelson's blog. That's www.drgarysamuelson.com. That's Gary, sorry, Dr. Dr. So Dr. Dr. GarySamuelson.com. As previously mentioned by Maria, Dr. Samuelson's new book, A Journey of Discovery into Redox Signaling, is set to be another great asset to this tremendous field of science. It's released next week. It'll be available on Amazon, Kindle, Apple, and most all EPUB reader apps. So ASEA also has a great website where you can look up the science of ASEA Redox. That's at ASEAscience.com, ASEA science.com, ASEAscience.com. And finally, please get back to the person that introduced you here today, this afternoon, this evening, and ask them your questions. We'll do our best to comment back to people who have been commenting on Zoom and on Facebook today. And again, please understand that ASEA does not make any medical claims to treat or cure any medical diseases. Thank you, everyone, again. Thank you for your attendance and your attention, and thank you to all of our special guest speakers today. Bye for now.
Thank you for your help. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you.
Bye. See you later.
See you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.